For our next activity, I want you guys to go ahead and turn to page 56 in your notes. And we're going to be taking a look at three triangles here. So what I'm going to want you guys to do is, in case you haven't noticed already, sitting on page 56, that the three triangles you see here, we're given two lengths. We are given the side length 3 and the side length 4. And the two lengths actually have to deal with kind of the clock activity that we did earlier today. And I had asked you guys the last question, what happens if you have one of the sides pointing up and the other side pointing up as well, but then that second side starts to rotate around the clock. What happens to the distance between the two tips, the 2 points, as it goes clockwise? Okay, so this next activity kind of goes into it a little bit further. So the question states, here are three triangles with two side lengths, 3 and 4, and the third side is of an unknown length. Now, we very briefly talked that of the triangle, the two yellow parts are called the legs of the triangle, and that's what we use terminology-wise. But then the other one, as some of you already discovered, is that weird funky noise called the hypotenuse of the triangle, which is always going to be the longest side of the triangle. So the question says, you have these three triangles here. We want you to sort the following 6 numbers from smallest to largest. That includes the x, y, and z. And then put an equal sign in between anything that you know to be equal. Okay? So pause it here, listen to your music, take a moment to think about this. It's going to take you guys a few minutes to kind of think about this in general. Okay? So go ahead and take your time and pause, and then come back when you're done, and I'll have everything explained for you. So when you guys come back, one thing I kind of want to help you out. So if you take a moment to think about these two sides, what is the closest that they could possibly get together? These two lines, the 3 and the 4. What is the closest they could possibly get? Hopefully you are saying that the answer is 1. The closest that they can probably get together has to be 1. Okay? And then what is the farthest that they could get? And if you recall, when they are basically on opposite ends of each other, the farthest that they could ever get is going to be 7. So we know that everything is kind of in between 1 and 7. Okay? So to kind of help things out a little bit, we know that everything has to be greater than 1. Everything has to be less than, that's a bad less than. Everything has to be less than 7. Okay? So we have 3 other things that we still have to deal with, or 4 other things. We still have to deal with x, y, and z, along with the number 5. Okay? Now, I want you to focus on this particular one here. And why do you think I had you focus on this particular triangle? And hopefully because you notice that it's a right triangle, and since it's a right triangle, you can figure out what the missing side is going to be, z. Okay? So when you go ahead and do your 3 squared, and I'm not even going to do it because these are the same numbers as we did before. We actually found out that 3 squared, plus 4 squared equals z squared. Okay, so 9 plus 16 equals z squared. So 25 has to equal z squared, so z itself has to equal, we take the square root of it, we get 5. So we have this nice thing in the middle of 5 has to equal z. Okay? And like I said, all we're doing is just kind of moving things around here, which leaves us with a few other things that we have to do. We still got to figure out x and y. Okay? So one of them has to be less than 5. One of them has to be greater than. So which one do you think is going to go in each of its place? Based on how the triangle goes, hopefully you are saying that y is going to go here and x is going to go here. Okay? So this particular activity was just kind of very, very brief in showing you that, we can put things in order we can kind of generalize what's bigger, what's smaller based on, okay, we know what the smallest number is, what the biggest number is. This one is a very, very brief activity. So I'm going to go ahead and upload this one, and then you guys can get ready to start your next one.